Good morning. It's Thursday morning, and we're still stuck on Romans 5:12. There's something I want to tell you about that verse. Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death came through sin, and so death spread to all because all have sinned. That because in there, uh, the Greek is epho, and that's a construction that's used all over the place, and it's one of the ways you could say because. Augustine was enormously influential in the West. Augustine never learned Greek, so Augustine depended on Latin translations of the Greek, and the translation that Augustine used was wrong, just to put it bluntly, because it said, death spread to all in whom all have sinned. So referring back to that one man through whom sin came into the world. And so Augustine built on that little bit of confusion this whole theory of original sin, that we have all inherited sin from Adam through sexual generation, the way we're conceived, and that, so we all are sinners biologically, and there's nothing we can do about it. And he developed a whole theology out of that error, and it was enormously influential in the Protestant Reformation. And so we've got this whole theology in Protestantism that traces its lineage back to Augustine not knowing any Greek. This is not the way to do business, but this is what we've got. This is why the Eastern Christians look at the West and say, you people were living in the dark for 1,000 years. Well, we were, because nobody knew any Greek. Okay, rant is over. Augustine got things goofed up. The question is, do we inherit sin biologically, or do we inherit the tendency to sin, sort of not original sin, but ancestral sin? That we get this disease that leads us to sinfulness, but it's not something that we inherit, that we have to do. Now, I was once teaching an evening study group, Sunday evenings, on the Confession of 1559. It's a short document, 4 or 5 pages. John Calvin may have written it. The French Confession, 1559. You can look it up. And that is a very, very Calvinist document, more so even than the Westminster Confession. And it goes on about original sin and total depravity, and how even infants that are conceived and born are sinful and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going through this stuff and explaining what it means. And all of the professors in the room who are involved in child development, and there were 4 or 5, they're all going, that's wrong. You're wrong. That is not the way infants develop. That's not the way they behave. That is not who they are. That's not who we are. And we had quite the discussion, because they had all this sort of science on their side, and all I had was 3 pages of something that John Calvin might have written. But there's something to that. Do we inherit sin, or is sin sort of optional but inevitable for most of us, and for all of us, really? I kind of think that's where Paul's going with it, that we all have a choice. We're without excuse, but we have all done it. We've all sinned. And so that's something that we need to acknowledge. However, as he said back in chapter 3, they've all sinned and they've all received grace and justification in Jesus Christ. So it's all good. Which raises a whole bunch of other questions that we can get to at some point later in this letter. I just wanted to go back over that today, because it occurred to me that I missed it yesterday, talking about Adam as a type. And really, we have to acknowledge Augustine's brilliance and also his mistakes, because he made one big goof here. But anyway, don't let that drag you down. Have a great day, and we will see you on Friday morning.